Tim, so dude, you've officially been at the manor a year. How are you liking it? Duke, I'm finally settling in. I'm no longer worried Bruce is going to send me away. Jason, I get that. I thought I was just some charity case. I was terrified that I would mess up and end up back on the streets. I stole a bunch of expensive looking things and kept them in a go bag. I was prepared. Damien, I too feared being sent away. My grandfather would have been disappointed. I was prepared to fight to the death to prove my place in the family. Grayson, I was sleeping with a knife in my sock in case he sent me back to juvie. Cass, signing. I feared disappointing him. I felt like I needed to earn my place here. Steph, he couldn't get rid of me if he tried. I'm like glitter. Tim, same. I think he tried to kick me out like 6 times. I just laughed and walked past him. Duke, are we just going to ignore Grayson's knife comment? When Bruce died, all his kids ended up gathering around for the reading of his will. Things were split pretty evenly between them, with certain assets going to certain people. The company to Tim, the manor to Alfred, etc. And the end of the will, there's one last line. Don't let your brother turn into a supervillain. All of the siblings are busy arguing about who Bruce might be talking about, except for Tim and Cass, who are standing away from the group. Tim has an amused gleam in his eye, and Cass is staring him down. Don't you dare, she signs at him, knowing full well that Bruce was talking about Tim. I'm going to take over the League of Assassins, he signs back to her, which was always the plan. He just couldn't leave right away. Grayson giving Damien Robin was a perfect excuse. Also, Bruce was definitely alive, just lost in the time stream, and the League would have the resources he needs to find answers. 6 months later, over 100 bases blown up, and with the coordinates to recover Bruce, Tim returns to Gotham. He's not alone though. Oh no. Drake Industries has had a complete overhaul under the leadership of the teenage heir, and if all the new employees are ninjas, since that's for Tim to know and no one else. When Bruce returns, he gets swarmed with questions from his kids about which brother he was referencing at the end of his will, and he gives them all a confused look. Tim, of course, that kid borrows my morals like library books. At this, Grayson goes ashen. Tim, who has been off the grid for the last 6 months doing God knows what. Anyway, thinking about how Bruce's mom tendencies bleed over around the League, he pulls out a Barbie pink scrunchie from his endless utility belt. Oliver is very sure he's seen it in Spoiler's blonde mane before. He wordlessly secures Diana's hair in a ponytail before she jumps into battle. Barry skins his knee while running, which, considering, is pretty severe. Definitely not the kind of wound you can treat with gray ghost bandages. I'm never taking this off. Okay, gross. Shut up, Hal. You don't even wash your suit. You just make a new one every time. I'm allergic to laundry detergent. Everyone knows that, Barry. Bruce does not tolerate their fighting for more than 15 minutes at a time. I will count to 3. Hal is quite literally flabbergasted when, after a particularly rough mission, Batman walks over to him and gently places a plate of fruits before him. Hal, in that rain soft voice, fruit. Thanks. He just walks off like it's nothing. Did he just do something nice for me? Everybody saw that, right? You're all witnesses. Everyone's equal parts shocked and equal parts losing their Clark's eyes are just slightly red. I need to take a nap. I like to think that Batman started out with the blue and gray suit. He made the colors brighter when Robin joined him, because if his little traffic light was going to be seen, you better see the bat right there in front of him. It's your last warning not to do something very, very stupid. If you have the privilege to stay awake after an encounter with the Batman in Gotham, you're either a child or a love interest, and every good henchman and villain knows that fact better than anyone. If you're curious and brave, you can ask Harvey Dent or Catwoman. I have your Riddler. If you want to hear some telenovela level insanity, you can ask Mr. Freeze if you want to. But then he starts talking about his wife, and everyone is gonna feel really, really bad. Don't ever ask Joker. You don't ask questions to the Joker unless you have a death wish, and you want to take everyone else in the general area down to hell with you. To see a flash of the bat and make it out unscathed in the alleys and warehouse yard is relatively unheard of. It is a terrifying honor to make it out unscathed around the bat. It means he sees something good in you, or he'll come find you later looking for information, so accept it now. Give me Bruce and Jason, who are not on the warpath anymore, but they are still awkward and absolutely clueless on how to make things up, so they pretend that they need something from each other in order to spend some time together, even if these things are absolutely simple, and both of them could handle it themselves if they wanted to. Bruce calling Jason in the random Friday night. So Alfred left for a week, and I promised kids to do a homemade cake for them, and you know how useless I am in the kitchen. Jason, who knows that Bruce is, in fact, not useless in the kitchen, but low-key misses cooking with him, because the last time they did it, it was Alfred's birthday before his death, and they did the cake together. Theoretically, I agree. Bruce, sighing in relief. Theoretically, I will need you in Manor tomorrow in the morning, and I theoretically will pay for that. Jason, theoretically, see you tomorrow. Bruce, theoretically, thank you. Jason, dealing Bruce in the middle of the night. Old man, bail me out of the prison. I am in CGDP's building. Bruce, knowing well that Jason wouldn't be caught in the first place if he didn't want all of this to happen, and even if he did, he would easily escape without him. Getting involved, but also knowing that today is the anniversary of the day Bruce adopted Jason, and it is his way to spend time together. Okay, may I ask, what did you do? I'm obsessed with the difference between the Wayne family and the Kent family. Like, I can imagine Clark and Bruce working on some kind of case at the Watchtower when Khan storms in angrily talking about how John won't stop wanting to play games on his phone, and it's really getting on his nerves, and Clark needs to go and tell him off because he won't listen to Khan. And Clark sighs before turning to Bruce with an eye roll like, kids, am I right? And then they hear a far-off scream from Grayson on the other end of the Watchtower that's like, Bruce, Jason keeps dressing up as Nightwing and killing people in Bloodhaven, and now I'm being investigated for fucking murder again. Followed by an evil Jason-like cackle and a crash, and Bruce just grunts and stands up to go investigate with a chuckle. Returning Clark's looks like, oh, don't I know it, haha, as if the two are in any way comparable and Clark isn't staring at him like his whole family is insane. Clark's family seems like one of those psycho superhero fams until you compare it to the Wayne family. That fam is genuinely the most dysfunctional group of characters. I'd like to think after taking care of the bad kids, Bruce just naturally became more attentive towards the Justice League members without realizing it, and it drives him crazy when it first started happening. For instance, Clark's trying to find a pen under the table that he dropped and Bruce subconsciously covers the edge of the tables with his hand. So when Clark bumps his head, he was not expecting feeling soft hands cushioning the blow and hearing Bruce go something along the lines of, "Be more careful," and he's just like, "Hey." Another scenario is Diana and Bruce in his car, undercover mission or something, I don't know. And when he brakes, he instinctively had his hands in front of Diana, who was in the passenger seat, that thing moms do, and just pretend nothing happens afterwards. Barry accidentally tripping while he's doing his usual thing and sees Bruce make a "I told you so" face, but he can see slightly worried. I just think Batman being a motherhead of sorts towards the Justice League would be silly. Tim Drake has a hatred for Sherlock Holmes. Has he ever read the books? No, but his dad used to insultingly call him Sherlock as a kid when he was being too nosy or curious, and now even when people say it as a compliment, it just irks him. Jason, being the resident classic literature nerd, is dead set on at least having Tim read the books, so we can either A, actually like the books and accept that Sherlock is actually a pretty cool guy to be compared to, or B, give actual tasteful criticism and insults based on the contents of the book. Jason could care less which happens. He's just tired of Tim ranting about his hatred for Sherlock, despite not knowing a thing about Sherlock. Tim, Sherlock this, Sherlock that. I wouldn't be caught dead wearing this stupid hat. Jason, the hat isn't really even mentioned in the books. You'd know if you read them. Tim, I'm not reading them. They really can't be that good. In fact, Sherlock was so bad, even his literal creator wanted nothing to do with him. Jason, your dad wanted nothing to do with you and you're still a pretty good detective. Hugh Grayson yelling at Jason because that wasn't nice. Bruce is at a gala. Okay, and he's talking to a woman, random woman, and we found out that we're having another child. Bruce absolutely cackling inside because this is about to be the funniest thing he's done in weeks. Brucey, that's wonderful. Where are they? Can I meet them? How old are they? Now Brucey's standing there, scanning the room for his children with a huge grin on his face, while all of the random rich people stand around like he's going to explain to the adorable, well-meaning idiot that most people don't know they're going to have children a few months before the children are born. And worse, who's going to have to break the news to him that he can't meet the kid today? Because this man has acquired all of his children with zero premeditation. Yes, he does have a biological kid, but that one showed up on his doorstep as a preteen. He did even less acquiring with this one than with the others. Bruce has a blast acting out his disappointment and has to turn some so that he can no longer see Tim and Cass leaning against each other and laughing, because otherwise he's going to start laughing. Alternate universe where Bruce accidentally gets de-aged physically and mentally, and the first person he bumps into is Red Hood. To Jason's defense, he didn't connect the dots at first. He was just patrolling around his usual turf, thinking of nothing in particular, when he saw a small child in a ridiculously serious suit sulking around Crime Alley. He looks distraught, and considering that he looks rich, it is no surprise. That is not a place for him. So he is either lost or something happened, right? He takes the helmet off, as he usually does when he's dealing with kids. They get scared easily, and carefully approaches a brooding baby. "Hey Shrimp, where are your parents at?" That said, Shrimp turns around, his big blue eyes looking confused and lost, and Jason thinks he looks awfully familiar. "I am not Shrimp," he protests, instantly pouting at him. "And they are somewhere here. We just left the movie theater together." Jason glances at the abandoned movie theater, back at the little rich boy with a familiar frown, and it clicks. This is his fucking dad. Suddenly, a kid. But it is fucking Bruce Wayne for sure. Was watching Zorro by any chance? Jason still asks, just to be sure that he's not going insane. Bruce, and it must be him, beams at him. "Yes, this is a great movie, by the way." Oh hell. At least he didn't witness his parents' death just yet. Jason wasn't sure he'd be able to deal with his father being so small, and mourning his mom and dad. Time warped or travel scenario where Bruce gets launched back into a younger version of himself with all the memories, and the first thing he does is goes and gets Grayson right after his parents' death. Then pick up Jason, arrange about 1,000,000 playmates to get Tim out of his house, and once he has those kids happy and taken care of, he goes off to find Cass, helps Steph with her dad, and leaves a very pointed voicemail for Talia. Alfred thinks he's more mentally ill than usual for knowing exactly which orphans, and as he pointedly reminds Bruce, children whose parents are still very much alive, he's trying to steal and adopt. Bruce heatedly replies that they're his kids, and he's going to do everything right this time, rendering Alfred absolutely speechless until Bruce asks if Alfred would be able to make dinner for his new brood of kids. Try and remember who you're speaking to, Master Bruce. I've thrown dinner parties with less notice. Great, because I have a list of allergies and some notes on favorite foods.